All right. Well, welcome to Coffee with a Purpose, everyone. As Kristen said, a very rainy Monday morning, but some of us are happy that it's rain, not snow, at least, I guess. So it's been a snowy winter. So welcome to both Kristen Pope running as an incumbent for Select Board and Matt Brand running as an incumbent for School Committee. We're happy to have you both with us. Um, They've agreed to have Kristen go first and then Matt go second. Matt does have an obligation where he'll need to be leaving at 10:15, so we'll kind of, move right along. That being said, I would like to still start with super brief introductions, if that's okay. So let's see. Kathleen, start with you.
Hi, good morning, Kristen. Good morning, Matt. I'm Kathleen Donovan. I'm on the library's Board of Trustees, 35-year resident of Natick, and very active in Pat's Keep Natick Beautiful.
Thanks. Martin.
Uh,
Oh, you just went to mute. There you
there we
go.
go. I do that all the time. Martin Kessel, and I'm um, active in town, but for the past several months haven't been that active. Been mostly active in the Mass General Hospital and rehab. We were talking about that at my own home in Natick.
Hmm. Thanks. And we'll give you our best. Carrie.
Hi, good morning, Kristen. We know each other pretty well, but 23-year resident, keeping it beautiful, Rotary and property management, handyman work, a bunch of different things in town. So look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thanks, Carrie. Pat?
Um, yeah. Uh, Good morning. Pat Conaway.
Great.
Keep Natick Beautiful. Looking forward to hearing from both you, Kristen and Matt.
Thanks. Carol.
Good morning, Kristen. Looking forward to hearing from you. I've been in Natick for over 50 years and been part of a lot of different things.
Thanks, Carol. Susan?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to see both Kristen and Matt today and looking forward to hearing from everyone. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks. Rick? Got to come off mute, Rick.
Okay. Rick Devereaux, Eco Natick. Glad to see you there. Here, Martin.
Thanks, Rick. Whoops. Sorry. My mouse was doing something funny. Sally?
Good morning. I really welcome both Kristen and Matt to Coffee with a Purpose. We're just a group of folks that really are hot for politics and town matters, and really delighted to have you both with us. Good morning.
Thanks, Sally. Cindy?
Good morning. I'm a 5.5-year resident here in Natick. I'm a trail steward, sing in sound and spirit, and pick up trash.
Thanks, Cindy. Tom?
35-year resident of Natick, active with Spark Kindness, and welcome.
Thanks, Tom. Brinley?
Good morning, 25-ish year resident, town meeting member, 2 kids, one's still in the high school, one in college, do a lot of volunteering and work around town, and I'm happy to have you both here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Brinley. Donna?
Good morning. Great to be here on this rainy day, and I look forward to hearing what both of you have to say. You're always good company, and I'm just a long-standing Natick person. Thanks.
Thanks, Donna. Frank? Frank might be away from the computer. Bill?
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
No,
Yeah. Go ahead,
want me to
Frank.
go, Doug?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Frank Voss, former plenty of different positions, town meeting member, precinct 10. Want to hear what the candidates have to say? Thanks for doing it.
Great. I'm hearing that Bill's having problem with his audio, but Bill Ramage, chair of the CPC, longtime town volunteer, keeping a beautiful number of other things. Hopefully that does you justice, Bill. And let's see, Janji.
Oh, good morning. I have decided, I'm sorry about this. I'm a little late. Jean Gimonar, and I'm a resident of Natick more than 25, 26 years ago. I'm a Hungarian and part of the Hungarian Society of Massachusetts. Actually, I'm a board member, and I just coming from our last week. We had a big cultural event, and at some point, maybe I will talk about our, society and what we are doing here when we have a chance. Okay?
That sounds fantastic. Thanks. Sarah?
Sarah Hannah, Doug and I raised 4 kids all through the Natick public school system. I've been active in various things around town for a long time, town meeting member on community preservation and various other things.
And I'm Doug. I try to ride her coattails. All right. Thank you all. Kristen, let me turn it over to you. Welcome. Kristen?
Sorry about that.
Yep.
I couldn't tell if I was on mute or not.
Yep.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so privileged to be here with all of you this morning. Thank you for all that you all do. I know there were a number of folks who said, I do a bunch of many things, but all of those things matter to the tapestry of Natick. So thank you so much. Again, my name is Kristen Pope, and I am seeking re-election to the Select Board for a second term. Serving on the Select Board for the last 3 years has truly been one of the greatest honors of my life. As someone who was somewhat new to Natick, I take a great deal of pride in the fact that the Natick community has welcomed myself, my husband, my daughter, and really locked arms together to do great work here in Natick. Some of that work specifically for me over the last 3 years has been first and foremost to bring more diverse voices to town government. That was something that I felt needed to be increased, was greater representation from different kinds of people with different kinds of experiences and different kinds of backgrounds. And as a part of the Select Board, I've been able to vote and appoint more people who come with different backgrounds, as well as just the work we do in collaboration with different groups and representing different groups and bringing them to the forefront. That has been a great joy of mine. Separately, or in addition, I should say, is economic development. The Select Board invested about a year redrafting and editing our liquor policy to make sure that we could create greater opportunity for the businesses we have here and the businesses that want to come and choose to be in Natick. We voted to place an override, a $7 million override on the ballot, which passed with 60% of support. And we know that the 40% who voted no, we know that this has been challenging. The override was challenging, but fiscal stability, budgetary stability is a key priority of mine as well in Natick. Separately, affordable housing. Affordable housing is a priority of the towns. It's also it's a priority of mine. And so creating more opportunity, making sure that we're in alignment with the MBTA's Communities Act, making sure that we are creating opportunity for affordable housing is something that I have been able to champion, as well as will continue to champion in another term, elected in another term. So that is a bit about me. I can, share some about just, I would say personally, there are a number of the pain points that I think that residents feel that I want to empathize that my family feels too. The affordability issue is something that we experience as well. We know that prices are going up, and some of these, a number of these things are statewide issues. They're Commonwealth issues, excuse me. This is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. They're Commonwealth issues, and they trickle down to Natick, and Natick is not unique in that. There is a report that talks about it's a Massachusetts Municipal Association report that talks about the crisis that municipalities are experiencing right now from a fiscal perspective. And so I share that. My family shares that. And so I just want to say that first, that A number of the issues, most of the issues that our residents are having, we are having too. And so it is important to me to not only be at the table, but I stand in unity and locked arms with our community to see these to see progress, to see progress. I'll stop short of resolve because I'm thankful for my ancestors who, you know, fought for these issues. And I'm not just talking about Black people, but I'm just talking about people who've come before me who fought for these issues, and progress is incremental. So I'll stop short of resolve and say I hope to be a part of the link in the chain that continues the progress towards these issues. So I'll stop there because I know that our time is slim today.
Well, as usual, we'll use the raise hands. I'm not seeing any just yet. Let me just kind of cue off two things that you just had in your remarks, Kristen. One, progress. Can you point to any particular initiatives the select board or the town has been doing lately that have represented progress with either affordable housing or any of the other key issues? And then the other thing, you were pointing out, the issues that we face are largely not unique to Natick. Are there activities the select board is doing that help you share ideas, strategies, information with other communities to learn from each other and help each other?
Absolutely. So one of the first things that I can talk about in terms of progress was the tax title. The tax title had gone, I would say, unrecouped. That may not be a real word, y'all, so forgive me if it's not. We needed to recoup tax title money.
Can
And
you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by that?
Yes, absolutely. So during the pandemic, forms, letters that would recoup taxes from those who owed them were not sent out. And we were advised, not to do that at the time. And so post-pandemic, those letters have gone out and we have recouped, I believe, over $2.5 million worth of back taxed money. And so that we've made tremendous progress where that is concerned. And we'll continue to do that. But so far we've made tremendous progress where that is concerned. You talked about a place where we are doing, I think, Doug, greater collaboration. And so there's a number of regional or regionalization programs that we are doing. The first one that I think is really major is the dispatch. The dispatch. We are working with Framingham to regionalize our dispatch so that we can share resources. We are also, our VSO is a shared VSO. And so there are a number of ways in which we are sharing our resources to make sure that we are most efficient. There are things that we are looking at down the line on other ways to share resources, considering the cost going up, considering the budget, and also considering how we do the best with a lean team on the town level. We continue to operate with a pretty lean team, and so regionalization is a great answer where it is applicable, not in every place, but where it's applicable.
Thank you. Cindy was questioning in the chat BSO, but I think you said VSO standing for Veteran Services
Veteran
Office.
Services
Is that what you
Officer,
were
yes.
referring to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And dispatch meaning fire and police kind of call center. Is that what that is?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Pat, you've got your hand up, and then.
Yes, Kristen, I was going to just check with you about this. The proposal for perhaps a new housing at the West Natick train station parking area or lot there. I was just curious, at what point are we in that process, and what's your position on it and that sort of thing?
So right now, as I am aware, we are a bit early in that process. And my positioning is that we should move forward. We should move forward with that housing. Um, One of the things, and I think this is a good piece of education, most of what we see happening in Natick is what has been planned for. Our 2030 plus plan was made to be a 20-year plan. I'm thinking of the 2050 plan, but the 2030 plus plan, which was created back in 2017, I think it was enacted in 2019. These plans were made to be plans that were far out. So a number of the housing we see, the West Natick housing, the Natick Central housing, this housing was planned for a lot of it long before I was even on the board. I think it's critically important. I appreciate the fact that Natick is not only planning for the issues that we have now, but they're mostly planning for the things that are to come. And knowing that housing is an issue in Massachusetts, Natick has plans for that. And so some of those things are just breaking ground. Some of them we see further along, but I'm in support of these plans.
Just one follow-up, excuse me. Some of the new buildings, with housing over retail, and ones in, along Route 135 and down towards St. Patrick's Church in that area. It seems like the units, it's a good idea, but they seem to be kind of unaffordable. I mean, we're building these these places for people to live, but still the rents are pretty high. So I was just curious what's happening with that.
One of the things that I first want to acknowledge, that as true, rents are high. And they are high considering that, again, they were planned for, but today they're high. The cost of living is just high.
Right.
It's high across the board. If you're a homeowner, it's high. It's high if you are trying to seek, commuter type affordable housing. And one of the things that we are doing from a town perspective is advertising far and wide. One with our employees, but then and beyond that, we're advertising to beyond so that people who are not just in Natick, but people who want to move to Natick know that this housing is affordable. It is close to the train station. It's in walking distance to this train station. So if you are a commuter into the city of Boston, this housing is available to you. So we're hoping that it actually creates greater opportunity to move to Natick. I mean, I often say, if I had to buy my house again today, I couldn't. Unfortunately, the scales are not going up as quickly as the cost of living is going up. And so similarly with those multi-purpose with the multi-purpose homes, we're hoping that this attracts folks that are in Natick but also beyond, who would have sought Natick out of reach prior to those homes being there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you for the question.
Thanks for that. Donna?
First, Kristen, thank you so much for everything that you do for Natick. I appreciate your presence so much. And I don't mean this to be a critical question, but I suppose it is. I've been disappointed recently to learn that our police department isn't fully certified and accredited. And I just always assumed it was because Natick always does things right. And I can just depend on that. And I live in a great town. And I thought, of course, my police department is fully accredited. And we are like at the bottom. I mean, I went on and I looked at the list of other departments in the area, and we're like the only department in the area that doesn't have this accreditation or certification. I mean, even the college police forces have this, and they've had it for a long time, some since 2014. Um, what difference does it make? Does accreditation matter? Does that affect things? And do you think it's important that our police force be accredited? Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Donna, for that question. Um, to your point, it's important. The accreditation is important, and the select board and the town sees this as a priority. I think we too are concerned that it hasn't happened yet. And we are looking into how this can become elevated as a greater priority to see movement on this happen. So first and foremost, we are creating greater accountability with our police force to see this happen. One of the things that is recent to the police force is that we are no longer in civil service. And so there is a greater pool of candidates that the police chief now has the ability to choose from. And I think this is important because it helps to build a talent pipeline. And in building a talent pipeline, I think it gives the capacity to our police chief to better be able to address issues like accreditation. And that is what we want. We want this issue to be addressed. We want accreditation for the police department to be fully accredited. And we are creating greater accountability with our police chief to see this happen. So I fully agree with you.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that. Carrie.
Thank you.
In my brief intro, I didn't mention that I do maintenance work for Family Promise over on Mulligan Street, as well as the Bacon Street property for the Natick Affordable Housing Trust. And I was curious to hear your thoughts on 5 Auburn Street and expanding, following up on Pat's question about affordable housing. Is that that was very contentious. I know that. Is that kind of still churning through select board? If you kind of done with select board and it's in the developmental stages at this point?
So it is, we are still moving through, I would say moving through the select board, but we are fully in support. They just received a great vote of, they received a vote of support for additional funding that will, I think, also help secure more state funding. So we are in support. We want to see this project move forward. And I believe that the select board at this point is going to do everything that we are able to do to see that come to pass.
And for those who don't know, how many units of housing once that project's completely done, the other building is been completed?
I believe it's 32 units.
Yeah.
Of fully affordable housing. We have a number of affordable places where we have affordable housing, but this particular project is meant to be fully affordable housing. Unlike some other projects where there's a few units that are designated, this is meant to be fully affordable.
Unfortunately, it's not close enough to the commuter rail station, but at least there'll be some housing. Just one other point I want. Chief Hicks came in and spoke at Rotary about a month ago. He's, because of state laws, Commonwealth laws, he's going to have to be forced to retire, as well as, I guess, Lieutenant Luzon, I believe it is. So there's going to be a lot of, that might affect the whole accreditation process, I suppose.
So the select board has voted to place an extension of his contract up to 2 years on the warrant, on the town meeting warrant. Because you are correct, he would be due to retire, he and Lieutenant Luzon. And because the regional dispatch project is a big proponent for why there was a majority vote to extend his contract.
Just curious.
Was it a unanimous vote or a majority vote?
It was a majority vote.
Interesting. Okay. Thanks. Martin. I got to come off mute.
There
you go.
I think I get in the pattern. When I think I'm on mute, I'm not, and vice versa. I have to reverse the settings here. We talked a lot about the community corridor West Natick proposals, and we talked in relation to the school select board and their decision-making process. I think it also affects the school committee in more ways than I had realized. We're talking about building a neighborhood that is possibly more affordable than other neighborhoods. I think that was put the way Kristen put it, which is well put. It's not the most affordable neighborhood in the Commonwealth or even in Natick, but perhaps one of the more affordable neighborhoods in Natick that's coming about. And that makes for a potentially viable school neighborhood. So if I think back, you don't have to think back very long, but to think back over the Johnson School neighborhood, that was viewed as basically a neighborhood, something that ordinary people can live in. Similarly, perhaps across the street in the apartment buildings, it's not been known to have a neighborhood feel for whatever reason, but it could. In terms of income, it's on the lower range of what's in Natick. And so that's sort of the school committee tie-in, but there's also, for me, a open space tie-in. I'm best known as chair of the Open Space Committee. And this has been one of our active issues over the past year as to how to make some sort of affordable, open space provisions in that West Natick neighborhood. And we don't expect a 3,000-foot mountain with peaks and dangerous hills. But we do really look forward to some commuting space where people can walk across several different lots and get some flower beds and landscaping in between. And we benches and so forth, which sometimes are called mini parks. So kind of, I guess, putting those all together, wondering how all three of those from this new neighborhood, from the select board point of view, from the school committee point of view, and perhaps from the open space advisory committee point of view, are going to come together into some wonderful new neighborhood that can be maybe not ideal, but as good as it possibly can be.
First of all, thank you for all the work that you do, Martin, on the Open Space Committee. It is critically important, especially as, from my perspective, one of the things I observed in moving to Natick and then getting more involved was, environmental justice. The space of environmental justice, and that, making West Natick more of a concrete, not wanting to make it a concrete jungle, but really, making it a place that had greater equity in terms of the buildings, the concrete, and the open space. And I think this is clearly a place of collaboration between, let's say, the select board, the planning board, the open space committee, to ensure that those things are there, that benches are there, trees are there, parks are there for our children, for our residents, for the people who are coming, so that we don't have a disproportionate amount of housing and parking in West Natick. I think it's one of the reasons why there is the support for 5 Auburn that we have, because there is space to do it, and we don't just want to cluster all of our housing in one particular place.
Thanks for that response, Kristen. Sydney.
Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning.
My question is not really that specific, but I think I don't have any particular issues that I'm concerned about. I tend to vote for people that I think are going to make good decisions and thoughtful decisions. And so my question to you is more as a relative newcomer, and being this your finishing your first term, like, were there things that surprised you about being on the select board? And then related to that, I have heard concerns about the whole idea of Natick being a town and having a town government with a select board versus moving towards more like a city kind of council. And I'm just curious if you have thoughts about that.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Cindy. Things that surprised me. Oh, how much time do we have? How much time do I have? Um, I think the things, one of the first things that surprised me was, just how welcoming people would be to my leadership, to my ability to serve. I think I was very surprised by that. Because I was a relative newcomer. I think I was very surprised by that. I was pleasantly surprised by how I have been embraced by my community. It somewhat makes me emotional. It makes me emotional because to be a relative newcomer and for people to welcome us the way that they have. My husband sits on the finance committee. That's not something he would generally do. My daughter has really been, she's grown up in this community. She's been raised in all of this. She's, her one parent's here, another parent is there. And so I think that's probably been the biggest surprise for me. And it's extremely humbling. Excuse me, y'all. It's very humbling to have been so welcome in this community. And it makes me want to serve even more. As I look forward to the future of Natick, it makes me really grateful to be a part of this community. And I'm just extremely thankful, very thankful.
So how about the city town thing?
The city town, yes. Let's move on to something
That'll make us
much
cry in a
harsher,
different
right?
way, right? Yeah.
So for the city town, everything that we do, I see that we do is in collaboration, with the residents. Outreach is critically important to me. It's critically important to the select board to hear from our residents. What do the residents want? What do you want to see in your town? And when we look at services, I think we always have to look at, are we able to meet the threshold? Are we able to provide the types of services that meet the needs of our youngest to our most seasoned? And we have to take a look at whether our current form of government can do that. In this current government, are we able to be as efficient as possible? And I think there are some questions, even the regionalization questions. I think there are some questions as to whether or not we are getting to a tipping point and a threshold of reviewing our kind of government, our government study that committee has been sunset, but their recommendation was that we did need to review a charter commission to see if this is the best going forward, because I think it's not necessarily about this moment in time right now. It's about Natick's future. If for what we are to remain competitive, progressing in the Commonwealth, does our current form of government meet that 10, 20 years from now? And so I am in favor of a charter commission that will review that, because a charter commission asks the residents, what do you think? What do you want to see? And that is something that as a town, we should answer that together. We should be able to answer that together. So that is my stance on that. Cindy, God bless you. I was not expecting all of that. I gave you way more than I thought. But
Kristen,
thank you for your question.
It's good to know that we've got real
I'm
people here.
hearing, I don't know if you know Ricky Ball, but she preceded you by about 60 years or 50 years in being on the select board. And she has expressed very similar sentiments about her feeling welcome in Natick. And she has also gone to tears on Coffee with a Purpose for the same reason, expressing her gratitude. So you're not alone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Cindy. We are starting to close in on the end of our time, but I know we've got Frank and Rick. I have got a question of my own if we fit it in, but Frank. Did Frank? Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
Frank,
muted.
you're on mute. Go toggle one more time. There you go.
I finally figured it out on my phone. Sorry. Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
I was before you folks during the override discussion,
Mhm.
and I made a few proposals and I set out some questions about the course correction of our fiscal, let's say, town. And I wondered, have you made any changes or suggested any changes in our fiscal policies, taking into account some of the things that not only I said, but others said it during the override? And this gets to that 40% that didn't vote to it to some degree,
Right.
even though I did support, the $4 million for the schools. So what changes have you made since then so that we don't continue to do the same thing that we've done over the last decade or so?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for your question, Frank, and thank you for your input. Your input along the way, I think, was really helpful for the select board and how we were going to make decisions about this going forward. I first want to say that I can assure you that the select board and the town do not want to anytime soon have to come back in front of the town and ask for an override. I can tell you that we don't want to have to do that. I cannot make guarantees, necessarily for what is to come, but to Frank's point, what are we doing as a select board that, either minimizes that or lessens that burden? So the two things that I will state are the financial policies that we are working on. Some of them have been approved, and then separately financial management principles, which are really the foundation for how we are governing. We also have a new financial director who's been here for 6 months. Ari Sky, he's fantastic. And he's really had to dig in. He's really had to dig in and jump in to the work of, like I talked about before, the tax title. So, being on top of sending out the letters to recoup the tax money, property tax money from folks who were behind. But also working very closely with him, putting these in front of him too, as he addresses the budget now, as he addresses the budgeting process now, creating a new set of guidance and a new set of accountability that helps us to foresee and to foresee where we could be cutting back, but also to foresee what landmines are ahead of us, such as an override. So yes, Frank, we are actively working on these changes to protect, to shore up the budget so that we don't have to keep coming back to this place. And I do want to say for those who were, who did vote for even if you didn't vote for the override came after 17 years of a previous override. I also want to state this. There, again, I stated it once before, but there is a report. The report from the Massachusetts Municipal Association is called A Perfect Storm. Cities and towns face historic fiscal pressures. The Massachusetts Municipal Association is an association that it is here to support municipalities across the Commonwealth. This is not a Natick issue only. This is a Commonwealth issue. There are towns, there's more than 100 towns that are considering overrides. The Commonwealth has 351 cities and towns across the Commonwealth. This is something that towns and municipalities are grappling with. So it's not just Natick specific, but we are here, and so we are trying to do our best to with what we have, and to manage that, to steward that well.
Thanks, Kristen.
Very much.
We could definitely Wish we had time for follow-up, but let's just get to Rick real quick, and then we will.
And I
move
will
on.
say
Yeah,
this, if you, Brinley, I see you in the chat. Thank you so much. If there are follow-up questions, you are more than welcome to email me and we can have that conversation separately. I will be at Roots and Wings, 6:30 on Thursday. If you want to come and meet me there for an hour and a half, we can talk about these things as well, face to face.
awesome. Thank you for that invitation. Rick, real quick.
Yeah, this is just a quick thing. I was looking at well, first I want to thank you for, for serving and for doing so with all your heart and for opening that heart to us today. It's moving, and I think I can't speak for people here, but you have a lot of support here, needless to say. The quick question is just, I was looking at the link that Brinley posted on the master plan, and I noticed something I hadn't noticed before, which was about land use and the percentages. And my yes or no question is just, do you know, has this been, is this talked about as in terms of a future master plan? I know it's been updated, and gets updated frequently, but, there's land use per person, and there's, which actually came down a little bit, probably because development in the recent years has been large. But is this something that has come to the attention at all during your 3 years, to really look hard, following up on Martin's earlier remarks, at land use overall in the town?
It has come up. It has come up, and it's not something I would say we talk about all the time, but it has come up. And again, I think it's our collaboration with Open Space Committee, the conservation, the planning board, to address that in terms of in terms of our master planning. None of these things, I think, get done, Rick, like on their own, just kind of like in a very narrow bucket, but it's through these conversations with all of our counterparts to address how we manage land use, and to what degree are, humans and homes, using land use, our children who are in school, and then separately, what's to come, because we're not creating any more land. So how do we use what we have and still maintain what is extremely important, is our open space, but then, providing housing needs, school needs, educational needs through the community.
Well, thank you. I understand it's a very complicated issue that crosses everything, but it seemed important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And thanks for spending the time with us this morning, Kristen. I know you have to go, although depending on when you have to go, you're certainly welcome to continue to hang on or as much as you can. Thanks for the invitation to join you at other campaign events. And Brinley has shared your campaign contact information in the chat as well, so that will go up in the video later today. And at this time, I'd like us to transition to giving the floor to Matt to talk about his work with the school committee and why he wants it to continue.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I may have made a tremendous tactical error in agreeing to let Kristen go first. But we'll just the same. And for those who hadn't heard at the beginning, unfortunately, I have to get to my office, which is in Natick, for a pretty important meeting at 10:30. So I'll have to finish up a little bit earlier. So I'll spend just a brief amount of time talking about myself, which is something that, believe it or not, for those who know me, is something I'm a little bit uncomfortable with. But and then spend the rest of the time having discussion. So, because I feel like I've met many of you and we've had discussions before, but for those who don't know, I am Matt Brand, the other Matt who's running for school committee. I'm finishing up my second term, my 6th year on the school committee, and running for re-election for a third term. To go back in time a bit, I got involved with Natick politics. It is now just about 12 years ago. I'm a general, I think, my daughters disagree sometimes, a generally funny, lighthearted person, but this next statement will be less funny. I got involved because a child who, a very close family friend, died, 18-month-old child, Eddie Kramer. And you might know that name from Eddie's Park, the dog park in Natick. So, and this is the reason I got involved with the day after he died. And by the way, here's a bit of levity. He hated me for the first year of his life. It wasn't until we got a dog, who is now 12 years old, that Eddie actually started to like me. The day after he died, I went over to his family's house and asked what we could do to help. And that is when we heard about a potential dog park in town. I said I would go over to town hall and figure out what that meant. Where can people donate money? How's that all working? Where is it in the process? I had never been to town hall at that point. So I went over to town hall with Eddie's uncle. We walked around, like no idea where we were going, knocked on doors, finally found some information. And then over the next 48 hours, raised close to $50,000 in order to get that park, well, get the process going. And for any of you who followed the construction of that park, it took, I don't know, 5 years to get all that done. But in that time, I was going to a lot of meetings. This is how I became exposed to town government. I was going to select board meetings and conservation commission meetings and finance committee all the planning board meetings, all the different meetings. This is where I met some of the people here, and then I ran into Josh Ostroff on the train coming home from Boston, and I said, like, I want to be more involved. How do I get more involved? That is where I landed on something called the Information Systems Advisory Board, which I am sure many of you have never heard of. And I am a software engineer by trade. So that has to do with that career. From there, I actually reached out to Frank, who is here. I think Frank is still here. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Oh, Frank's still here.
Yep.
I reached out to Frank, and I don't know if Frank remembers this. We met at ZD's, and he told me all about the finance committee, and then I joined the finance committee. As part of my time there, I was on the education subcommittee. So I started learning about the schools. I have at that time, two young daughters. Now my daughters are a junior and a senior in high school. And then I went to a community event in town where there are speakers from the select board and the finance committee and the school committee. And that's where I met Donna, actually. And then I decided to run for school committee. That felt like the most natural fit. So yada, 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 12 years of time. I have spent a lot of time serving on things. I noticed that Brinley actually put a link to the report from the Town Governance Study Committee that happened a couple of years ago. I was the vice chair of that committee. So I've served in a number of capacities. I think my strength has always been executive leadership and collaboration. I am quite proud of the work that we've done. And I know I don't have to go through, I'll put my campaign website in the chat when we're finished. There's a whole list of accomplishments and things that I'm proud of. But what I'll say about accomplishments, because I actually got what I would consider to be a passive aggressive email from a voter in town who asked me to specifically list the things that I have accomplished myself. And my response included a couple of things. This person was also quite critical of me talking about how I enjoy collaborating, because everybody says that they collaborate. But one of the things that I said is the school committee is made up of 7 people. Nobody gets anything done. And the select board, of course, with 5 people, and finance committee with 15. Nobody gets anything done alone. It is largely about collaboration and consensus building and being open-minded and listening and being humble and knowing when you don't, and being okay with saying, I don't know the answer to that. I might say that today during our discussion. I'll have to get back to you. Like, I think that that's okay. And so all of those things I put into practice in my professional life. Thank you for putting that in the chat. I should let you know, the senior vice president of engineering. So I'm a software engineer, which is where my social awkwardness comes from, and many of my detail-oriented obsessive compulsive tendencies, for a mental health company that serves millions of students around the world. So we provide mental health support. So mental health is quite an important topic for me. This is what we're doing at work. At 10:30, we have a meeting about a release for what is called basic needs that we're going to do tonight. This is food insecurity, housing insecurity, financial insecurity, features around that. So all of that has led me to where I am today. And while I would not claim to be an expert I don't have a background in education. I don't have a background in finance. That's not my superpower, I think, with the committee and any of the boards is my leadership and my collaboration. I don't think people who have worked with me would disagree when I say the following. And again, something I'm super uncomfortable with. The first time I ran, I got some advice that I have to get more comfortable talking about myself in these types of contexts. I uh, I am always open to talking with people who disagree with me. I'm okay. I live in a house with my wife and two teenage daughters. I am regularly reminded of how wrong I am about things. That is that is okay. Like I don't have I have a lot of confidence about what I do professionally, but not a huge ego about it. And I think that has been reflected, again, as uncomfortable as it is, in the way my peers on the various boards and committees have put me in leadership positions. So before we get to lastly, before we get into any discussion, I'll just say a couple. We hired Dr. Spash 2 years ago. The school committee not only asked me to be part of the request for quotes process to identify the consulting firm that would help us with that process, but then the school committee elected me to be the chair of the superintendent screening process. So I was the one responsible for sort of guiding that process to find our finalists, right? I've been the chair of the policy subcommittee for 5 years. Like I had mentioned before, town governance study committee, I was the vice chair. I've been the vice chair of the school committee for 2 years. A number of leadership roles. I'm currently on the one of the two school committee representatives, voting school committee representatives. There are three of us actually, on the superintendent's strategic plan steering committee. So every opportunity there is to have somebody be a leader in one of these things, the school committee continues to ask me to serve in those roles, which is a point of pride for me and something that I try, frankly, to model for my daughters, who are a pretty important part of my life. Anyhow, I've been going on. And given the time, I would love to have discussion or questions. And I will tell you, because I know this group is one of the more engaged groups in town, I will just share and you can ask questions. And Doug and Sarah, maybe this is a seed if there are no questions. One of the things that I am most concerned with, and as part of the town governance study committee, this came up, and one of the things that I'm most interested in is promoting more leadership engagement. This is a group of people, and I see a lot of people here who have been very active. Rick and I have had lots of conversations. He was at our last field study group. This is another committee. We have a meeting today. I don't know, Rick, if you're coming. Pat and Frank and Donna and so many. Catherine Coughlin is here, and Brinley comes to a lot of meetings and does. I still owe her laps for lunch that I have to do. And Martin, so many people here who are quite involved, and that's great. One of the things that I've been trying to do in my conversations is get more people to get more involved in whatever ways work for them. We're all busy people. And I want to be cognizant of that, but it is a challenge in town to get more voices, even those voices who we don't agree with all the time. And that's part of I think we as a town can do better and not like than the national discourse. I think we can do better. And so I would love to encourage that. But anyhow, happy to discuss anything. And again, I might say I don't know the answer to that.
Great. Thanks for those opening remarks. I'll jump in initially since I'm not seeing other hands up, but just queuing off of what you were talking about your superpower of collaboration. Matt, can you give maybe just an example where either you it moved from your own initial perceptions about the right way to proceed on an issue to and a different understanding after hearing differing opinions, or perhaps helped resolve other school committee members that might have seemed at loggerheads with each other and, at an impasse? Yeah. How did you break that? Do you have any examples there?
Yeah, I'll give you two. I'll go back to when we were, if anybody was following along, when we were hiring an interim superintendent. And we sat at the table, and any of you who have sat at any of these tables, sometimes you're on the relatively speaking, the wrong side of a vote. Okay. I have been there before. I had made clear who my vote was, who I would be voting for an interim superintendent. And the will of the committee was I was not in the majority. And there was a healthy discussion, and that's fine. That's democracy. That's what it should be. And then after the discussion, I was the one who made the motion to offer a contract to the person who I had not voted for, right? As a sign of, look, I'm going to support the decision of the committee, even though it's not the one that to model that, like, it's okay if we don't agree, right? I hear it. I hear your feedback, and we're going to go the way, I don't have to win every discussion that I'm in. And again, back to my house, which I never get to win. But like, there was that. More recently, last year, we had a discussion. I don't know if any of you followed it, for basically to put out a resolution that was against anti-Semitism based on the MTA's, the Massachusetts Teaching Associations, so it's a super union in Massachusetts, the recommended curriculum to discuss and teach the events of October 7th and beyond in Israel. And it was easily, of all of my years of being involved, the most challenging discussion I have ever been part of because I'm Jewish, right? And that is now look, I consider myself, so I'm also, and can't tell, white and a man, and I am a person who considers myself of great privilege. And I don't walk around having people show hate towards me. I do have daughters. I did go to my wife and I were talking last night about my daughters who attend a Jewish overnight camp. Same place that my wife and I met, the same place that I was the director of, and what kind of security is in place given the incredible rise in anti-Semitism. It is terrifying, right? This resolution, I won't go into the whole thing, but you can certainly read the minutes and read the resolution, was largely toothless in that it was a reaffirmation that we as a district will follow our policies and procedures to select curriculum and make sure that we are teaching in an equitable way. The full story, not one side or the other, right? The room was very charged. It was filled with a lot of people from the Jewish community, and we had what I think was around a 3-hour discussion. And now I'll be honest, when I went into it and I was hoping for a 5-minute discussion, because to me, when the people who are largely affected by this, and we did this with the pride flag when we raised it, and we've done this in a lot of different ways when we've shown support for a community that is hurting, right? But there was a lot of procedural conversation and a lot of people who wanted to share their views. And rather than get angry about it and frustrated, I spent, I tried to keep my cool and for something that is quite personal and collaborate, listen to the feedback, make adjustments to the resolution, some wordsmithing, so that everybody was ultimately happy about it. And that passed. But I came home and people had asked me about it ever since. It was easily the most exhausting because it had such a personal link. And but ultimately, I'm one of 7. So, and I wasn't, Dr. Fruchman was the one who brought the resolution. I helped him with a bit, but certainly I was a champion of it. So that's an example of, if you want to watch the meeting on Pegasus, I welcome you to, of a long conversation that had a lot of back and forth that had to require a little bit of compromise to get done.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. Well, people are being bashful with their hands.
We can talk about the books that I've written. I wasn't going to I've written 3 books. We don't want to talk about that.
Are they like Dr. Seuss books, or are they not?
I have a children's book that I'm looking for an illustrator, if anybody's an illustrator.
Oh, really?
So no, but they're not like Dr. Seuss books. No.
I guess
you can keep going.
Not seeing other hands. I'll ask
okay.
the infamous J Ball question, which is kind of like a version of the one that I was just asking. But Kristen was talking about the importance of listening to the constituents of this town and making sure that we hear their voices. That doesn't necessarily mean always doing what they say we should do.
Yes.
Um, how do you tackle the general topic of maybe when the voices that we're hearing from the most aren't really advocating for what you feel is the best or proper solution or approach to a
Yeah.
problem? How do you manage the balance?
It's a great question. And the good news is this is where my engineering background comes in. I have the ability to, another thing that I get sometimes criticized for in my house, being unemotional sometimes. And we've had that come up a number of times. I got a follow-up email from the previous person yesterday, and it mostly ruined my day in the second half of the day when it asked me. And I'm going to come back. I'll answer your question. It asked me what I thought the pride flag symbolized that the American flag doesn't. And and it is a reminder to when we voted to raise the pride flag in front of all of our buildings. And there is a large group of people who don't agree with us doing that. And so a lot of our topics are that. I see Frank raising his hand, and I'm looking forward to hearing his question a bit. He's an example, and I'm pretty sure he won't mind me saying this. He's an example of a person who, he and I have always had, I think, a great back and forth relationship. We don't always agree, and that's what I like about talking to Frank, right? That's part of the process. And so one of the things, and I'll give you a very concrete example. As the chair of the policy subcommittee, we recently updated the public speak policy. This is the segment at the beginning of our meetings that allows anybody from the public to come and speak about whatever they want to speak. And over my time on the committee, we've had, if you've paid attention to some of the visitors who we've had at school committee meetings, there's a lot of exercising of free speech. And that is your right, and I support it. We adjusted public speak, the policy. It used to be that anybody could come and speak, but only on topics that were not on the agenda. And one of the things that we changed was to say, you can now come and speak about anything, even if it's on the agenda, because for some people, the thing on the agenda might not be until 9 o'clock at night. And you might have other commitments. And we actually think as a committee, I shouldn't speak for the whole committee. We voted for this policy. And for me, I interpret that as the committee thinking we want to hear from people, no matter what they want to talk about, even if it means we won't take their advice or their suggestion, they are welcome. And of course, everybody's always welcome to email the school committee, but people come and they exercise that, and we have to listen. And I am not the only one who lives in this town. And while we are not like town meeting, I don't represent a precinct in town. The schools are, while they're the largest part of the budget, they're not the only part of the budget. There are plenty of people who don't have kids in the system who care about what we do. You have to listen to all viewpoints all the time. And I think, if I'm going to practice the idea of not always winning a conversation, not always getting what I want, my hope is that other people believe that as well. It doesn't always work out that way. Some people get upset. I'm sure there are people who don't like me. I'll live with it. But I hope people also know that I'm always open for the conversation.
Good. Thank you. Frank.
Did I do it right this time?
You did it, Frank.
You did. We're not
Very
seeing your
proud.
smiling face, but that's fine.
Oh, that isn't enough. Let me put that.
It's okay, Frank. Oh, now it's much better.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Good.
It's been a long time since Zevie's.
Yes, it has. We've met since then, everybody. Most recently at Morse Tavern. I remember all of it.
Well, so do I. Well, I'll go back to the question I asked Kristen, but I'm going to pose it more so in the school committee, hopefully within your world, your realm. The school committee is the largest budget, and our revenue increases each year are between 3.5% to 4%. However, the school committee's budget this year, I think you're proposing 5.4% increase. And in previous years, there were increases upwards to 9%. So just taking it by the numbers, how can you square a spending plan which increases greater than the revenue increases each year? And what are the things that the school committee thinks of and you think of when you make a proposal that actually collides with us having another override, in my opinion? So how do you square that and help us understand, or help me understand? I think I know, but help us understand where that all comes from, and how do you plan for this, or what do you plan to do about this?
It's a great question, and it goes back to what I was just saying about how we are responsible. We can't just be narrow-minded, like we only think about the students. We have to think about the taxpayers and all the other services. We have to we have to be cognizant of the police getting funded and this community senior center getting funded, the roads getting paved, all of that. There are a couple of things that I would speak to on that. One, the proposed budget for FY27 is just over 100 million. But it is level service. So most of the school's budgets come from contracts, employees. And there are rate like COLAs and step increases each year. However, we aren't adding new positions. There is $300,000 in the budget for new curriculum. There is a literacy curriculum. There are a bunch of things like that, reallocations, but the cost of schooling goes up each year. The number of students who require services has been going up each year, which is unfortunate, but is necessary for us to provide those services. Now, to Dr. Spash's credit, and Matt Gillis, our Assistant Superintendent of Finance, Dr. Spash comes from a business background prior to being an educator. And Bella Wong, the interim before, started this ball rolling with making lots of efficiency changes and ways to make sure that the budget was as low as it could be while still providing level service. So, for example, we voted as part of this proposed budget to increase fees, user fees, which is athletic fees, bus fees, parking fees, ASAP fees, pre-K fees, all those types of things, excuse me. We reallocated some roles to different positions. We had administrative, so the director of communications resigned in the fall. That position was not replaced. So Dr. Spash has been looking with Matt Gillis all over the place to find ways to make the budget as efficient as possible. But at the same time, we have to make sure we're providing really great service. We talk a lot about equity, for example. And one of the things in the most recent union contract that we did that everybody agreed, that voted for it, the school committee and, of course, the EAN, was higher salaries, not high salaries, but higher salaries for our lowest steps, for the youngest or the newest teachers. And the idea there was that we wanted to encourage, and we're competing with a lot of districts, we want to encourage folks to come work in Natick and to stay in Natick, make a long-term investment in them, which I actually think helps us budgeting in the long term, right? We're not looking to hire new people every year because people are going to Wellesley or they're going to Needham or other districts nearby. So there's a lot of budget things that we could talk about, and I have pages and pages of notes on specific numbers. It's a really good question and something that we have to maintain, because I think if we're not responsible about budgeting, we will be back, not just the schools, the whole town, like we will be back, hopefully not for a long time, looking for more money. And nobody wants cost of life. I filled up my gas tank yesterday. It was $4.09 a gallon or whatever. So like cost of life is expensive for everybody. We have to be mindful of that. So I see there are a couple of other questions. I hope, Frank, that touched on some of it at least. But I'll meet you at Morse and we can discuss in great detail. I will not be at Roots and Wings on Thursday at 6:30. Kristen will be there.
Yeah, we are unfortunately time constrained. Matt's got about 5 minutes, and we've got three
I'll
hands
get as
up.
many as I can.
All right, so just try to be as brief and direct as possible with your questions. Cindy.
Hi, Matt. Thank you for joining us today. You you say that, I think you, you present yourself as somebody who's should be on the school committee because of the way you manage process and the way your leadership and your strength as a listener and collaborator. Are there, however, specific things that you want the school committee to accomplish in the next term? Just curious.
Yeah,
Or
I'll list a few of the things and where my professional skills are specifically relevant. Oh, I'm part of the steering committee for the strategic plan, right? So building this is a big thing to accomplish. We also are in the midst of an MSBA process to potentially rebuild a memorial school, right? I was part of that process for the Kennedy School, and so we're doing that again. Now, I don't want to open up a giant can of worms, although I sort of do as a technologist. AI is a thing. And while I don't claim to be an AI expert, I am a big user of AI, and it is a thing we are already talking about in terms of responsible use in the policy subcommittee. It's going to be something that we're going to have to figure out how to harness properly. So, and certainly the superintendent is only in her second year, and I think that we've made quite an investment in her and want to make sure that she is successful. And I think I've spent a lot of time with her as part of the screening process, and I'm invested in making sure that Natick is a great place to work for her and for everybody in the central office and for everybody in the district. So, like, those are the things that I think I bring specifically.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good. Thank you for that. Rick.
Well, Matt, yeah, I'm going to take my answer from you probably, privately, and I'd love to set up a meeting with you in the next couple of days if you have a chance. It can be by phone, but I'm going to be looking for advice from you. I've just announced that I'm, going to be a write-in candidate for Rec and Park, and taking your lead as a collaborator, which I've generally been. And like you, have been sometimes put into positions of leadership that I didn't think I deserved, frankly. But my position on artificial turf. We've talked about it. I'm following it. And the advice I would want to have for you is, given my strong feelings about it, my sort of bottom line on it, after you cut through all the is it a risk, isn't a risk, all of that stuff. I may end up disagreeing with quite a number of people on there, and I'd like to talk to you about that. And at the same time, we're having a climate conversation next week on the 24th. You're not going to be live in it unless something changes, like the date of birth of your daughter or something like that. Well, let's talk about that too. Our format will be a little different. Just in a binary way. I wonder if you have any comment about it, particularly, the message it sends, which is where I get stuck on it. Sustainability is a great priority, and then we take out grass and put in plastic.
Yeah, I would say to the overarching point, right? My agenda is to help the community be better. Period. So I have my own opinions about things, and I bring those to discussions. But ultimately, it's and I think you do a really good job of this. We've had a lot of these discussions. You agree or not, that's part of the process. It's actually really important to have all the different perspectives at the table. That's what I think is great about the current school committee. We have a lot of different perspectives and experience. That's important. And I love that you're getting more involved. You should write in. I'm happy to help you figure out strategies to get more people to write your name down and learn how to spell your last name in particular. But I think the different perspectives it's okay to have your viewpoint and and encourage, but I think you're a good example of somebody who also listens to people who don't have the same viewpoint, and then you have a discussion. That's the biggest advice that I would give people. I lose votes sometimes. I don't come home and not sleep that night. That's part of the process, and something that I'm quite proud of, that we still live in a country where we can disagree with each other, right? That's okay. So we can talk. Rick, you can call me Although I am going to visit another college with the daughter who's turning 18 next week on Thursday, Thursday night. So I won't be
Might be
around.
more fun to meet with me.
Right.
Having
I
done
know,
that.
Syracuse University, my alma mater. So we'll see.
So
Catherine.
thanks for that, Matt. I'll leave it up to you. Do you have time
Yeah.
for Catherine's question?
Well, for Catherine, of course.
Hi, Matt. This is a quick question, and it's more out of curiosity than anything. I don't have an opinion one way or another. Well, I do, but it's ill-informed. So, on the town side, when we negotiate collective bargaining agreements, the town administrator does it and comes back to the board in executive session, says 3-year contract, 2-year contract, this is what we want, this is what it's going to cost. And then we give him authority to go up or down, or we give him, and it goes back and forth. On the school side, I understand 3 members of the school committee, most of whom have kids in the school and know their teachers, are negotiating teacher contracts. Can you talk a little bit about that and why that is? And I know that the school committee does not use adversarial bargaining. They use a different, we do too.
Interest-based bargaining,
So,
yes.
yes, so we do too. We do interest-based bargaining, but our town administrator does it. So there isn't any potential appearance of a conflict of interest. And I'll just leave it there.
So I think that from a negotiating standpoint, and not all, so the EAN, the teachers have 3 members of the school committee who participate. Like I was most recently on the food service negotiating team. There's only 2 of us. So they're not always 3, and one of us didn't have kids in the system. I think from a process perspective, the discussions, and I've sat in a lot of those negotiations over time, that group is not the one who's actually making the final decision. They come back in an executive session, present where they are, and then ultimately we as a full committee vote to approve or not, and what the negotiations should be. So for public meeting, or open meeting law, we can't have a quorum be there. I understand your point, and it's an interesting one, and something I don't know the full history on why the negotiating process is like the makeup of the folks is what it has been as long as I can remember it's been that way. But I have never felt like, because of the sort of the interest-based thing, and that our committee does have folks on it who don't have children in the system, the ultimate decision comes down to the whole group. And so it has never, I have never felt, now maybe I'm biased, I've never felt like there was any conflict, but I totally understand the point.
Thanks for that. And I know we're right at the end of your available time with us. We want to give you time to get your head in a new space for your 10:30 meeting.
If it's all right, Doug, just a reminder, tonight is the Yes for Natick Forum. We also have a field study group meeting, I think, at 5. Is that right, Rick?
Yes, we do, in person at the town hall.
At town hall at 5, and then Yes for Natick is at 7.
Yep. Thank you for that. Yeah, Brindley always closes us out with current events, so she'll remind us of that.
I don't want to step on Brindley's announcements.
But I want to thank both you and Kristen for spending time with us. Next week, we'll hear from the remaining school committee candidate, Donna McKenzie, about her candidacy as well. Thank you both. We'll get the recording and all the links out probably later today. And with that, Brinley, I will turn it over to you to. Matt,
Doug,
yes.
just one little thing, nerdy lesson for everybody, because I want to show. If you're on a Mac right now, you can do this, and that will happen. Okay.
Oh, really? Wow. That's how that works?
You can also do this.
Apparently, my hands don't work properly.
There you go. So you can. All right. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you all coming every week and participating in this. It was great to see you all.
Great.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, Brinley, current events corner.
Sure. Everybody already took care of it. No, just kidding. Yes, tonight there is a turf study group meeting. I did put the agenda in the chat, and I also got the worked with Jay and got them to build a turf study page. So, and I put that in the link. So now you can see their schedule and what's happening. And hopefully that will get fleshed out more for those who want to track that. The Yes for Natick form, I did put the link in the chat. That is tonight at 7. You do need to register for that. In order to get the link, and you can submit questions, although at this stage of the game, I'm guessing it might be a little late for submitting questions since it's tonight, but and that is everybody. It's not just school committee. It's not just a contested race. It will include the select board members. And then also on that Yes for Natick link that I put, they have a spreadsheet page that lists all of the candidates, including town meeting members and others. So if anyone is running for anything and you want to put your name on that list, then it'll be there for people to see. And what else do I have? Eco Natick is next week on Tuesday. The
24th.
climate candidate forum. There is a school committee meeting next Monday that I feel compelled to mention right now. It will be the last one before the change. Not next Monday. Yes, next Monday will be the last one before the new people. So the new people will come in and they will have their reorg swearing in on April 1st. And so the last meeting before the change is next week. And then it seems like there was something coming up on Wednesday. Select board, there's something else, but I can't think of it right now. Let me look at my calendar and see if I have it down.
I think there's something big
Nope,
happening at the
but there's
state on Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't know that, but I can also say that once again, FinCom is in full swing. So if anybody wants to know what's going on with the Warren articles, please tune in to FinCom on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, where they are going through all of the Warren articles, and you can hear questions and actually ask questions. I've found that it's one of the best opportunities, if you have questions for what's going on, to actually get to ask questions. It's in a much more relaxed atmosphere than town meeting. On the floor of town meeting, with not a lot more time, but a little bit more time to actually ask questions and get follow-up.
Thank you. And speaking of town meeting, I don't have it on the published calendar yet, but Todd Gillenwater and Jeff Alderson, FinCom chair and town moderator, have agreed again to come and give us their walkthrough of the warrant. That will happen April 13th for our Coffee with a Purpose. We'll take the following Monday off because everybody will be out watching the marathon. And then that'll give us one more Monday for our own traditional internal discussion of the warrant just among our group. Pat, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Doug, maybe you could clarify the elections. When is the town election again? What date?
Tuesday, the 31st.
31st. And what about the school and select board races? Are there 3 for 2? What's the, I forgot the
select board is
the 3
not
candidates
contested. So Kristen.
Okay. You want me to do that
go
one,
ahead.
Doug, for you?
Go.
Yeah. So sure. So there are 2 seats for select board. Kristen Pope is running as an incumbent, and then Rich Sidney is leaving, so that's an open seat, and Cody Jacobs is running for that one. They are uncontested in those 2 seats, so 2 people running for 2 seats. The school committee has 2 seats as well. Matt Brand, who we just heard from today, is running as an incumbent, and then Kate Flathers is leaving, so her seat is open. And in that, the other 2 people running for a seat are Matt Welch, who we heard from last week. No, we heard Cody. Yeah, Matt Welch last week, and Donna McKenzie, who we hear from next week. So 2 seats, 3 people running. It is the only contested race this year, and there are lots of other seats. There, Parks and Rec, Board of Health, assessors, lots of other seats. Housing Authority.
And
Park and Rec, is that a contested one, or is
it is, Pat. Apparently there are two people. I didn't realize that. Apparently there are two people running. Both are incumbents. One I know just failed to meet the deadline, and I don't recognize the other name, but perhaps she was on it before.
So I just want to clarify that actually a little bit, Rick. It's not contested. It's not contested.
Oh.
The name's not on the ballot. They are running as a write-in campaign just like you.
Well, that's
so
what I meant.
So it's contested in the sense of a write-in campaign.
Yeah.
So it's going to be who does the better job of getting their name out there for people to write in, but there's not actually a name written down for you to vote for.
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And Brinley, I'm sorry, are there also town meeting elections as well in this round as well?
Yes, there are town meeting elections every spring because we have a rotation. So when we redo the census on the aughts, town meeting starts over and everybody has to run again. And then whoever gets the most votes gets a 3-year term. The next set of 9 get a 2-year term, and the lowest set of 9 get a 1-year term, so that we put ourselves back on a rotation. So every year there are town meeting members up. And so, yes, there are town meeting members on the ballot this time. There are a lot of open spaces. I will put that link in the chat next time for everybody to look at. There are a lot of open spaces. So if you want to run for town meeting, launch a write-in campaign and get yourself on there, because it's so much better to have full participation. In my opinion, it is so much better to have full representative participation than less than full.
And it's 6 slots per cycle, not 9. So.
Oh yeah, thank you. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that because I think we should encourage more. I'm trying to encourage myself, but I'm not sure. So
encourage yourself. Oh yeah, absolutely. You should do it, Susan.
Susan, I will totally encourage you. I will just find people in your district to write your name in.
Susan for town meeting member.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I got
My
in as a
husband would
write-in.
kill me.
I got in as a write-in a couple of years ago. Something happened to my paperwork, and the night before the election, I found out my name wasn't on the ballot, and I emailed frantically at 5 o'clock at night everybody whose email address and precinct date I could find, and said, please write me in as a candidate. And I got in with 10 votes or something. So when that happens, if you get in as a write-in, you have to run again the next year. You don't get the 3-year
write-in
term.
is only
a write-in.
1 year.
Yeah, so
got it.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Sarah. I'm not on the ballot. I realized when the ballot came to me.
Yeah.
So I may ask for a write-in on that too from my friends in P8, which you're among them, Sarah and Brinley and Donna and others. So you can spell my name right once, you can spell it right twice.
There you go. Right. Pat, you had your hand up again? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask, maybe Martin knows the answer. Will the mail-in ballots be going out as usual?
Yes.
I assume so. Yeah, I don't know anything.
So I can answer that. So the mail-in ballots only go out if you signed up for them.
I see.
Right. Spring is so local town election is different than fall. Yeah, the fall, the state and federal elections.
Right.
So you'll need to sign up. And I will, if you Doug, if you give me a second, I'll put that info right in the chat.
Yeah, that would be good. And in the meantime, Rick has put the correct spelling of his last name, and that it's officially Edward, not Rick as we all know him by.
Yeah, that's my middle name, part of my middle name. Yeah. I don't think anybody here's misspelled it, but I'm almost unaware. I've seen it so many times.
I don't know. I think a lot of people throw an A in there, and
so active. That's because it's easier to pronounce DEVEREUX than DEVEREUX.
Yeah.
Or DEVEREUX. How do you spell DEVEREUX? I don't know. My father used to say that.
Cool. Let me answer the question. That I thought Brinley was asking me, because she answered the other one correctly, certainly. But some people's name will be on the printed ballot and some won't, depending on whether you got your name on the ballot by submitting 10 signatures, in which case you will be on the ballot. or in which case, or if you, what's the other possibility is pretty similar. You have to have 10 petition signatures, in which case I believe you become on the ballot as well, even though, I don't know. There's so many categories. I take back the fact that I have an intelligent answer, but I would assume anybody who can get 10 actual signatures is gonna be a real candidate somehow.
If you can't master it, then no one can, Martin.
You got a point, yeah. I think I used to have it. Frank knows that we used to go back and forth on it with Frank back in those days.
Great. And Brinley has put some more information in the chat about that as well. So
Yeah, I just want to make sure Pat sees that, because you have to do it every year for local elections, mail in ballot. So in that link that I just put in, there is a link to download it, or you can literally just pop into town hall at the town clerk's office any day that they're open and say, "May I have a mail in ballot?" And do it right then and there.
Great.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, that gets us to 10:30. And got lots to pay attention to as usual. Thanks again for everybody's participation. And we will see you next week.
Thank you, Doug.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Great job.